I just want to conclude my comments today, first by noting how grateful I am to the members of this House who speak out with compassion and boldly in defense of the unborn and equally of their mothers. You know, abortion has two victims, three if there's twins, the babies and then their moms. And then there's even extenuating damage done to the family that is grossly underappreciated, with fathers' rights being abridged and completely set aside with this so-called abortion decision. Let me point out to my colleagues that the purveyors of death and their enablers in politics, the media, and academia aggressively foster a culture of death, denial, disrespect, and discrimination against babies, and employ an endless array of deceitful tactics designed to trivialize and mask the cruel and ugly reality of abortion, presenting the violence of abortion as a so-called right. One only has to look beyond the slogans and surface appeal arguments to find the harsh reality of abortion. The abortion pill, mifepristone, is baby poison. It kills the unborn child by starving the innocent baby to death. I do a lot on world hunger. I do a lot on domestic hunger, Mr. Speaker. I believe in the importance of nutrition. Two global food security acts have passed this House as my bills in the past. They went on to become law. I believe in it strongly. And yet, mifepristone, the abortion pill, starves the baby to death. I had a meeting with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Gutierrez, in my office a couple of years ago, and he too believes in alleviating and ameliorating world hunger. And I said, Mr. Secretary General, how could we be simultaneously looking to mitigate the damage of crop failure, famine, and all the other and its implications for food insecurity, while simultaneously starving an entire segment of society, unborn babies, to death? How can we do that? He had no answer. His staff had no answer. We have to face these realities and stop looking askance and looking as if they don't exist. It is a horrible reality. Let me also point out to my colleagues that the abortion pill, about 60% of all the abortions now are procured through mifepristone in the United States. It is very dangerous to women. When Bill Clinton and his FDA commissioner, Kessler, went over and begged that Roussel Uclaf, who then was marketing this abortion pill, send it to the United States, where does the FDA commissioner come in saying, we need this baby poison, it doesn't cure anything, unless you construe an unborn child to be a tumor or something that needs to be vanquished and excised. And of course they're not. They're God's gift to each and every one of us, and every one of us here today at one time was in that stage of development as the unborn. But what we've now found out, which is what we've known for years, and that is, based on the most recent study by a group, the Ethics and Public Policy Center, and is the largest study ever done, ever. Nothing even comes close. And they did it in a way that almost takes out bias in terms of reporting. And they found, and again, this is the biggest study we've ever seen, that more than 1 in 10 patients experience a serious adverse event from the abortion pill. 1 in 10, it's 10.93%. And what are these damages? Serious infection, sepsis, which can be life-threatening, hemorrhaging, and a number of other adverse events. Do you hear Planned Parenthood ever saying, oh, the pill carries with it all of these deleterious effects to women? Never. They tell lies that deceive women, and they say that, oh, it's very, very safe. I'm very critical of the FDA for all these years. You know, they did sham studies on this over the years. We pointed it out, nobody listened. And now this study breaks through and says, please, the women need to know that there are very serious consequences to this abortion pill. Let me also say to my colleagues that yes, everyone's in the pro-life movement that can make it will be at the March for Life tomorrow, March for Life here in Washington. And thank God that the growing number of young people in this country are pro-life, rejecting the very surface appeal argumentation that's been used to dismiss and trivialize the beautiful life of an unborn child, and again, the terrible effects that these abortions have on women. Today, and it will be announced officially tomorrow, the Trump administration has just announced a comprehensive new policy protecting life in foreign assistance. It's humane, life-affirming, and rejects the culture of death, which we have been exporting all over the world by hijacking our foreign aid for very good projects, malaria alleviation and all the other, PEPFAR, which is a good program, but it was hijacked by the Biden administration, and the recipients of that funding was told, change the policies of the country where you're working to have abortion on demand. The only reason PEPFAR didn't get reauthorized in the last Congress was because of that, because he had hijacked it. And unfortunately, that's not what we signed up for. We wanted to mitigate mother-to-child transmission, and I did the reauthorization of it for 5 years, several years ago. I really believe in it, and was shocked and dismayed and angered that the Biden administration took that money and used it for things that it was not intended to be used for. The new conditions that have been now promulgated, the rule goes into effect shortly, Monday, I believe, actually conditions $30 billion in foreign aid to serve humanitarian and health needs around the world, instead of bankrolling UN entities and NGOs that promote and perform abortion violence. I can't tell you how discouraged I am that the WHO has become just another Planned Parenthood, and they push abortion on demand right till birth. That's their, and no conscience rights. If you're an OB/GYN or a nurse or anyone else, you can't say, please, I don't want to be involved. Governments would have the coercive power to say, you do that or else you're not licensed any longer. I would say to my colleagues, too, that a Marist poll that was released today found that a huge majority of Americans, 69%, oppose using tax dollars to support abortion in other countries. 29% are for it, and I would point out that the independents, it's 59%. Republicans even higher, and Democrats are tied in terms of those who support promoting global abortion and those who do not. But 69% in the aggregate who feel that way. At this podium in 1985, I offered the amendment to defund the UNFPA because of its forced abortion complicity, which was shameless, and it is to same today, but in China especially, but also to protect the Reagan Mexico City policy, which has now been reiterated and strengthened by the Trump administration. So this is really important, life-saving work, and I am shocked and dismayed again that so many people don't see the very simple fact. Next time you see an ultrasound, children or your grandchildren, just remember those very children at that very age are being dismembered or chemically poisoned by this abortion pill. And again, I don't know how anybody defends dismemberment abortions. What got me into this movement way back when, 1972, was when I saw the effect of a dismemberment abortion. Limbs hacked off, decapitation of the head, and that was seen as a benign procedure called a D&E. I'm just shocked at that people don't see that is violence against children, and equally it's violence against mothers. I call on everyone who might be watching this, please pray for this movement. Pray for the mothers. The pregnancy care centers, and I'll finish on this, are filled to overflowing with women who have had abortions and never want to see another woman suffer like that. I have met with so many. One woman who was trafficked, and I talked about it during the Michelle Fishbach amendment the other day, or bill. She was trafficked for years. She was helped by a pregnancy care center who just loved her, helped her with her child both during the pregnancy and afterwards. And then now she is running a pregnancy care center because she cares so much that no other woman experienced, for whatever the trauma is, what she went through. So I do thank you. I would like to yield to my good friend and colleague, Andy Barr.